Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Welcome to another video. Today's video we are talking FA Cup this weekend. We have got the FA Cup semi-finals coming up for us this upcoming weekend. Manchester City against Sheffield United, Brighton versus Manchester United. All four of these teams battling for a place at Wembley again because for some reason, money reasons of course, the semi-finals of this competition are played at Wembley rather than like a neutral ground. Even though Wembley should be the final destination for the final of England's top-tier cup competition. Whatever, it is what it is. I will never get over it. I will never get over the fact that that is the case. It's just weird to me that the grand stage of Wembley is the penultimate stage of this competition as well as the final stage. It just baffles me. Whatever. I digress. Whatever. Yeah, four teams battling out for a place in this year's final. Manchester City against Sheffield United, like I say, taking place on a Saturday night. Brighton versus Manchester United on the Sunday night. There are a lot of stories that I could develop here, a lot of ways that these games could go. And obviously, it sets up for a lot of stories that could happen. David versus Goliath encounters. Could Sheffield United beat Manchester City and then beat one of the other two teams left in the competition in the final? That could be an incredible story in itself. Manchester City, they're on the verge of making big history. Could this be a part of it? Should obviously things in other competitions go their way as well. Manchester United have already won the League Cup. Could they make it a domestic double this season? And Brighton, could they win their first FA Cup ever in their club's history? Lot of stories, a lot of things developing in this. And in this video, we're going to be talking about the games that are coming up this weekend in the semi-finals of England's top-tier domestic competition and giving my analysis and my predictions on how the games might go. Before we get into all of that, though, I would like to remind you all to please like the video and also subscribe if you're new. Both things are always and forever greatly appreciated. And also for you lot to get involved in the comment section, because I'm sure your thoughts, your comments, opinions, but most of all, of course, your predictions on both of these games will make for interesting reading down below in the comment section. But without further ado, let's get into the video. And we're going to start things off with Manchester City's game against Sheffield United. Like I say, taking place at Wembley on Saturday night. A massive David versus Goliath encounter. You've got Manchester City in the Premier League in pursuit of Arsenal. They're chasing down Arsenal right now to win their third Premier League title on a bounce. In the Champions League, of course, they are in the semi-finals of that. They're about to meet Real Madrid, trying to exact revenge on Madrid for obviously last season where Madrid dumped them out of that competition in pretty spectacular style, it's got to be said. And then in this competition, of course, they've got a very good chance of making it through to the final at the very least by facing the championship side of Sheffield United. Now, Sheffield United, of course, are in the championship. They are second in the championship. They are pretty much on the verge of being confirmed as being promoted to the Premier League for next season, alongside Burnley, of course. They are a couple of points, a win, or maybe even a defeat for the club below them, which I believe is Luton away, from being confirmed as being promoted to England's top flight division for next season. It could be a pretty incredible achievement for them and for their manager and everything. But they have this to contend with first. And, you know, like I say, I think they can go into this with no fear and nothing to lose. No one is expecting Sheffield United to topple the giant of Manchester City. No one is expecting them to pull up any trees or pull off a shock in this competition by beating Manchester City. So I think they can go out there, enjoy the occasion, enjoy a day out at Wembley, an unexpected day out at Wembley probably for a lot of them. And like I say, just enjoy the occasion, play with no fear and see what happens. This competition is built on David versus Goliath encounters resulting in David knocking out Goliath. This is why that created the magic that this competition has a narrative on, thrives upon, and has built its success on, is these competitions producing magical moments in which the underdog stories come about and the underdog manages to beat the favourite, them kind of things. I would love it if Sheffield United, and I'm turning to Kevin Keegan, I would love it if they beat them. I'd love it if Sheffield United could beat Manchester City. Sheffield United are 4-time winners of this competition. They last won it in 1925. It's not completely out of the question for Sheffield United to play out of their skin for 90 plus minutes and maybe even take it to a penalty shootout and maybe get the luck of the draw in that, or maybe just beat them actually on the pitch in normal time or even in extra time. Like, that could potentially happen. Like, we have seen stories like that before where the underdog has managed to do that against the bigger club. It could potentially happen here, and I would love it if it happens again here, but You've got to go with the favourite in this. You've got to say that Manchester City, in the kind of red-hot form that they're in right now, despite the fact they're competing on multiple fronts, they are seemingly killing it wherever they're going right now. They're just stepping up through the gears, as they tend to do at this stage of the season. And I have a feeling the six-time FA Cup winners, who last won it in 2019, who are on the verge of making major history, because, of course, there's still the Premier League thing that could happen, and they could win 3 on the bounce in terms of the Premier League. But they are on for a treble this season. They're on for a major treble this season in terms of the Premier League, the Champions League, which I say like they're still in because they're in the semi-final against Real Madrid and have a good chance of making it to the final there, I believe. And then, of course, you've got this competition as well. The domestic treble is certainly on for Pep Guardiola's side. Major history could be in the works for Manchester City going forward. And you've got to go with them. I'm sorry to say, but I want a surprise story. I want Sheffield United to produce a massive upset in this competition. And I'd love to see a Sheffield United final against a Brighton, or even a Man United, to say that Sheffield United are going to win it. But no, I've got to go with the smart choice. I've got to go with what my head wants rather than my heart, and say that Manchester City are going to win this. And of course, with some massive games coming up for Manchester City, you think about Arsenal coming up on Wednesday night in the Premier League. That's going to be a massive game, potential title decider there. I would say the game plan from Pep Guardiola is going to be put his strongest team out for the first 45 minutes, hope to get the game done as soon as possible by scoring plenty of goals, and then just trying to rest players for that massive Arsenal game, and obviously looking ahead to other games as well that are coming up, the likes of the Real Madrid game, the likes of the other Premier League games that they've got in store, and just try and get the job done and dusted as soon as possible. So with that being said, I'm going to go with Manchester City to win, Pep Guardiola's side to make it through to the final of this competition and book their place yet again at Wembley, and I'm going to go with a 3-1 win in favour of Pep Guardiola's side. Next up, we're going to be talking about the Sunday's game, and that is going to be Brighton taking on Manchester United. Brighton, runners-up in this competition in 1983, of course. That is their biggest achievement in this competition to date. I think they've got a major and big opportunity to make it through to the final yet again in this competition this time around. Brighton have been playing some unbelievable football this season. Some brilliant football. They've dipped at times, and I think when you give them the context of their season, losing some key players, losing their manager partway through the season and everything, I think you can kind of forgive them for, being brilliant, playing football brilliantly, but also for the way that they've kind of, a few results haven't exactly gone their way, which is part and parcel of football. But yes, overall, they've been incredible, in my opinion. They've been brilliant. They're a brilliant football club, a well-run football club in every aspect that they do, whether it is the way that they've recovered from selling players, whether it is the way that they've recovered from, obviously, like I say, parting ways with their manager partway through the season. They are a very well-run football club, and I think that it would be a brilliant reward for them to obviously go to the final and to maybe even win it, because I think that they are probably deserving of something this season. They come up against the Manchester United side, who are 12-time winners of this competition. I think only Arsenal have more FA Cups than Manchester United at this current time of recording. And their last triumph in this competition came in 2016 under a certain Jose Mourinho. Erik Ten Hag's side have been very good this season. Very, very good. They haven't maybe played the best of football at times, but Ten Hag has managed to instill this mentality or this kind of form of winning games despite maybe not playing their best, and that is very difficult to do. Grinding out results when you're not at your best is very difficult to do, and I think Ten Hag has done it several times across this entire season. And it could happen again here. They didn't play very well in the previous round of this when they met Fulham, but Fulham's total capitulation and self-destruction kind of benefited Manchester United and helped them go on to actually win that game and obviously set up the fixture that we have before us, where they are going to meet the Seagulls in this all Premier League clash. Look, for United, obviously Rashford is back, Bruno Fernandes is back. Nothing is ever given. Nothing is ever given. And proof of that is obviously this past week where United will be hurting from that Europa League exit to Sevilla. United were probably the heavy favourites for that competition, winning the Europa League as a whole. I certainly thought we were going to be seeing United lift that Europa League trophy at the end of the campaign. But of course now it's not to be because they got knocked out. And it's going to be interesting to see how they respond to that and how they respond to this. Because in my opinion, I think Brighton have got a very, very good chance of winning this game and progressing to the final. And United's season then is about confirming top four. Where 3 trophies were seemingly very possible and available for Man United to get, it might seem that it might just be a top 4 spot and a League Cup, which at the beginning of the season, I think you would have United fans would have snapped your hand off, because I don't think a lot of people were expecting them to get top 4. I don't think a lot of people were expecting them to get silverware on Erik Ten Hag's first season in charge. But of course, that is how it's panned out. I think the disappointing part for them would be if they get knocked out by Brighton here, because over the course of the season, the expectations may have changed a little bit to the point where they actually they believed they would get more than just the League Cup, a Europa League and an FA Cup, and they could be out of both of those competitions in the space of a few days. As far as this game goes, look, like I say, Brighton have been brilliant this season. Brighton play some excellent football, and for me, if they can remain resolute and disciplined defensively, stop the creativity of a Bruno Fernandes, stop the flair and pace of a Marcus Rashford, I think they can definitely win this game. They have those 2 players in particular to focus on. I know that obviously United have got the likes of Sancho and is Martial injured again? Maybe Martial, and Anthony, of course. But for me, obviously, Fernandes and Rashford are the 2 most dangerous men in a Manchester United shirt. I think if they can keep them quiet, keep them neutralised, Brighton will have no problem in cutting open United's defence, in my opinion. Especially because it's a United defence that are on their last legs, so to speak, with the injuries that they've got. There's no Martinez, there's no Varane. Harry Maguire and David De Gea both had a shocking game against Sevilla midweek. Their confidence, where's that at? I'm going to go with Brighton in this one. I'm going to say that the Seagulls are going to win this game and book a final against Manchester City at Wembley come the end of the campaign. It's not obviously a foregone conclusion. Like I say, United have the capability of winning this game, definitely. They have the capability of turning up in this game, and again, they have this. They've had this time and time again this season where maybe they won't play very well, but maybe Brighton are having an off day, and maybe United just are more clinical up front. There's a lot that can happen here. This one is This one is not as easy to call as what many people might think. This one is a bit more on a knife edge than maybe the City Sheffield United game. But I just think that Brighton might just have more in the tank. Stronger defensively and also more in the tank going forward than what maybe Manchester United have to offer. And that is why I'm going to go with a Brighton win. And I'm going to say that the Seagulls come out of this one as 2-1 winners. But those, of course, are just my thoughts, comments, opinions, but most of all, of course, my predictions on this weekend's FA Cup games. I want to know what you guys think. What do you make of the games coming up this weekend? What do you make of this competition? And who do you see making it to the final? And then, for a bit of extra bonus, why don't you tell me who you think is going to win this competition as well? I'd love to know your thoughts, your comments, opinions, but most of all, of course, your predictions down below in the comment section on both of the FA Cup games that are coming up this weekend. They could all make for great and interesting reading. Otherwise, hit that like button on the way. I've enjoyed the video. Subscribe if you're new and want to see more content like this. Both things are always incredibly greatly appreciated. And as always, thank you all so much for watching and listening. I've been Fletch. This has been another Fletch Talks video, FA Cup predictions video, whatever you want to call it. And I will see you speak to you all again soon in another video.